Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today's event with NetSuite and Sourceability. My name is Felicia Gottheim, and I'm an Alliance Manager here at NetSuite, and I'll be kicking off the event today. A few housekeeping items before we get started. Today's event is being recorded. All lines will be muted. We will leave time at the end for questions, so please submit your questions in the chat throughout, and we'll circle back to them at the end of the interview. For those who aren't familiar, NetSuite is the first ERP cloud software that was founded 20 years ago. We have more than 36,000 customers in more than 217 countries across the globe. Now I'll be introducing Myers-Holum, who's our alliance partner. AJ, do you mind introducing yourself and your firm?
Thanks, Felicia. As mentioned, my name is AJ Laxamana. I'm a development manager at Myers-Holum. I've been part of Myers-Holum since 2019. Started off as a senior developer and worked my way to my current position. Prior to Myers-Holum, I was also part of Oracle NetSuite, part of the Global Shared Services program. So definitely excited to be a part of this conversation and just be able to provide some insight into our implementation. Mark, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Mark Long. I'm the Global IT Director with Sourceability. I came on board approximately 4 years ago with the primary responsibility of selecting and implementing an ERP system. I've been in the ERP space since the late 90s and have had experience with a lot of different ERP systems. So, you'd like me to introduce Sourceability? We were founded in 2015. We currently have approximately 20 locations, 13 countries, a little over 350 employees. We have global distribution centers, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Miami. We have a very comprehensive suite of digital products for the supply chain and engineering professionals. Sourcengine, DataLink are just a couple of them. Sourcengine has the only true e-commerce marketplace in the industry. We have over 1 billion parts available and 3,500 suppliers. One of the things that separates us in this space is our unparalleled quality assurance and our logistical support. So, Felicia, that's us.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. I mean, 1 billion parts. How do you keep track of those? I'm sure NetSuite will help out with that, but we'll find out more throughout this interview portion of the segment. So with that, we'll go into the interview portion. For the bulk of today's conversation, we'll be discussing your ERP journey, Mark. Okay. So to get started, what challenges were you facing as a business that sparked the need for an ERP evaluation?
Well, we had, when we founded the company in 2015, we did so by buying a couple of seed companies and bringing them together. One of them had a mid-90s niche-based ERP system, and it served us well in the early stages. However, it did not allow for integration. It did not allow for customization, all things that we felt we were in dire need of. With our suite of digital products, we had no way to talk to our current ERP system, and that was one of our biggest issues. We found that having a ERP system with a framework already built in, with the suite scripts, with the roles, having everything in a unified system was all fantastic. We also were very interested in integration opportunities, both for our current products as well as the myriad of suite applications that were available. We wanted to make the choice once of selecting an ERP system, and that was one of the big things that brought us to NetSuite. NetSuite's evergreen approach as a SaaS product really helped us make that solution. It's been my experience over the last 20 plus years that systems that have a massive version release get to be its own problem. You end up having to redo an implementation every few years. Whereas with NetSuite's ability to update twice a year, it just naturally happens. We take it into stride, and it just continues to happen. And so we're looking at it from our future standpoint of saying we've made our choice once. We're going to keep that choice, and just keep moving forward with it.
Totally. And that's an awesome perk of NetSuite. As your business continues to grow, NetSuite can grow with you and scale with you. So hopefully you'll be on NetSuite for ever for the duration of your company.
That is the plan.
Totally. So I know you spoke about this a little bit, but what were your goals for your new ERP platform? Which systems did you end up evaluating, and why did you end up selecting NetSuite and Myers-Holum? Was it a tough decision? What was that decision-making process like?
Well, we went into this knowing that we wanted to make this happen as quickly as possible. So we looked at some of the top runners. We looked at Acumatica. We looked at IFS. We looked at an open source called ItemPierre. And we went to each of those and said, we don't want to evaluate you and then go out and evaluate partners. You bring us the top partner you think should work with us. And we did some pre-work on that. And NetSuite brought Myers-Holum. And in the selection process, we were selecting both the partner and the software. And for various reasons, NetSuite came to the top. How it works as a global functioning system was one of the big things. There were one of the platforms did not allow anything but USD, no matter where you were in the world. Another one of the platforms had incredible ability to customize, but they lacked the framework. And they lacked a lot of the pre-designed, pre-approved application integration. And then the open source, while that sounds like a great idea, we just found that the control of being in an open source environment was something we didn't want. We didn't want to be that custom. 36,000 adopters. I think when we did it, it was less than 36, but it was still a bunch. And so we wanted to go with something that there was a lot of people in, that we could have a good pool of both partners and employees with experience. And that's what brought us to NetSuite.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you're not alone. Like, plenty of wholesale distribution companies are running on NetSuite, and they're looking for the same goals in the platform. And so I think you made a great decision. I guess, AJ, do you mind talking about some common trends you're seeing in the WD market? Have you seen a similar situation to what Sourceability encountered?
Well, with Sourceability, definitely one of the more unique companies, especially just with size and the level of complexity. But all in all, really one of the trends that we've noticed is more or less the management of the amount of parts that most of these WD companies possess, right? For Sourceability, I think it was mentioned earlier, a billion plus parts, right? And storing that locally in NetSuite, may pose some issues, or may pose some challenges per se. So really, using SuiteScript and some integrations, finding a way to seamlessly just bring those items or parts in on demand seems to be a more efficient way to use NetSuite's capabilities, and allow it to go into the process without affecting performance or user experience, and pretty straightforward integration as well. So that's definitely something that's been trending and that's been a recurring theme in this industry.
Awesome. Thanks, AJ. And AJ, I know you just briefly talked about this, but Mark, do you mind diving a little bit deeper into exactly how Sourceability uses NetSuite today? Aside from the tracking of parts, what other parts of the business is NetSuite being utilized for?
Well, we again, one of our selection criteria was to find something that would handle the entire scope of the business, and NetSuite was able to do that. So we start at a CRM level, and we start our business process as early as possible in the opportunities. So we get to track our entire sales funnel all the way through the finalization of the sales, and then, because of the nature of our business, we have a very close handoff between our salespeople and our procurement people. From the time of the opportunity to the time of, for the most part, the fulfillment process, purchasing and sales are working super close together. And what NetSuite allowed us to do was to leverage that visibility for both parties and to create handoffs so that they can, without getting out of the system, be able to find the demand, find the source, be able to match it up, and get it to the customer. And then the other part of that is, as I said earlier, we've got multiple global warehouses, which means that we've got an incredible need to have visibility throughout the entire inventory process. And for us, the inventory process actually starts at the purchasing order, not so much at when it receives into the house. So one of the things we were able to do is actually begin to assign internal lot numbers at the time of the purchasing. And so we were able to allocate to those lots from there and then bring it all the way through to a one of the things that was on our slide there was our quality assurance. We have a very robust quality assurance process, multi-level, multi-location, and this allows us to have visibility through that entire process, so that there is no guesswork. We went from having to send a whole lot of emails and a whole lot of chats and a whole lot of phone calls to be able to say, where's my part, where's my part, where's my part, to now you go into the system, you look at the order, you can tell where the part is, where it is in the process, and then we close the loop, send it off, and it's all built out of the same system. So yeah, that's how we're using it.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. And yeah, you touched on a lot of great points. One being that, NetSuite is a suite. So every aspect of your business is connected, which is awesome, which is unlike a lot of other systems. I really liked how you said real-time visibility. I mean, that's the beauty of cloud-based technology. You get the updates as soon as the updates are happening, which is awesome. And you're really taking the guesswork out of what's happening in your business. And I'm sure that's improved operational efficiencies tremendously within your company. So I'm super happy to hear that. And I guess that kind of goes into my next question. And you briefly touched on a few of these points, but what major improvements has Sourceability seen since implementing NetSuite? And have you discovered any benefits that you didn't originally anticipate?
The biggest thing we've gotten is the visibility we needed, desperately needed. One of the things it's also brought us is, because we're a global company, we have the whole follow the sun issue. Much of our business takes place in Asia, but is started in Europe and North America. And previously, there was oftentimes a 24-hour cycle that had to happen before it could move to the next phase. So one of the things we've recognized is that ability to eliminate those cycle times. Things that used to take 3 days are now taking one 24-hour cycle. And it's because everything's in the system. Right. There's no notes being passed off, nobody sending an email off, hoping to get an answer when they wake up the next morning. Instead, a task is being handed off that's accomplished the next morning so they can just get on with their business. That would be one of the biggest things. The other thing was the fact that we're really happy with the amount of customization that it's given us. We've been able to pretty much match every process that we had prior and that we wanted to improve prior has pretty much taken place in the system. What that's done, though, is it's made a whole new laundry list of wants. Now that we have all that, now we want to take some more things. And the beautiful part about NetSuite is while we've done a tremendous amount of customization and configuration, I think there is still a tremendous amount of features that we haven't even started to use yet. So our user base is really excited about that. One of the biggest problems we have is slowing them down and saying, hey, wait, we got to get everything else done before we can get into those things.
Totally. And yeah, I think you brought up a really good point. NetSuite is fully customizable, which is awesome, but also out of the box, NetSuite comes with a ton of best practices that you can take into account into your business if that's what you want, or choose not to. So you can kind of combine the best of both worlds to optimize your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So obviously taking on an ERP implementation is a huge undertaking. So how did your company handle the change management piece that comes with moving systems?
It was a challenge. It always is. Like I said, I've been doing this for several decades, and I've yet to see it not be a challenge. And like any of those experiences, we did have to manage expectations. We did have to get our communications honed a little bit better. Really, it went well. It took a little longer than we expected, but that's mostly because of a change in our implementation philosophy. We started to go into this saying, well, we'll just simply do it as quick as possible and then do the customizations later. But we got deep into the process and realized that we really couldn't do that effectively. So we needed to do the customizations before because we came from a niche product. And so that was one of the expectation management challenges we had was what all were we going to release with our first release when we went live. And we got most of it in order. Just it took a lot of communication and a lot of patience.
I'm sure. And there's obviously so much you want to do and want to continue to do. So it's really figuring out what are the essentials for going live on day one. And then, of course, for phase 2, phase 3, you can continue to do different things. Yep.
Our roadmap is pretty well populated for the next couple of years.
Love to hear that. And AJ, obviously you've been through a ton of implementations. Do you have any helpful tips for those who are going through an ERP implementation? Anything that they should, or any common mistakes you've seen, anything that folks should do differently?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, if you can find a partner like Mark on the other side, that'd be great. Definitely, just definitely one of the best clients that we work with. In terms of just some tips, really, with these particular implementations, especially for let's say this particular size, really having ample time for like analysis, requirements gathering. I think that's definitely one of the, stages that clients might not see ROIs right away, but it's quite essential in the build phase and going into a go live, being able to just take the time to capture all use cases, etc. Even if it takes a little bit longer than expected, it's definitely better than adding on changes after the fact, right? So it's better to have a full solution than to have one with full of band-aid patches, I would say. And secondly, just being able to have constant communication with your project sponsor from the client side, and being able to have these conversations of, hey, we're going to change our methodology, or maybe we're seeing a lot of as Mark mentioned, we're digging really deep into these processes, and maybe we should realign and set a realistic goal so everyone in both parties are their expectations are met. So really communication and flexibility, and just extra consideration on analysis, especially for exceptionally large projects like this, are, I think, essential for a solid, or at least a better implementation.
Totally agree. And I feel like, obviously, Mark, you were an amazing, committed project sponsor, but I feel like a lot of the times we hear the most amount of escalations or problems happening when a person or the project sponsor isn't fully committed to the project, and then it'll prolong the implementation. So there's got to be a commitment on both the implementation partner and also the project sponsor, which in this case was beautiful. So we can only hope that all future customers are like this.
Thank you. Yeah, and I would just like to dovetail with what AJ said. One of the things that made this project work as well as it did was the level of both communication and commitment on both sides of the table. One of the things that made this possible is that we went in this with a very abbreviated implementation schedule that turned into a much longer implementation schedule. And because of the communication, we were able to maintain the resources that originally we were working with, which is highly unusual in a process like this. I think AJ's team lost 1 or 2 people during the 2 years, and my team lost 1 person during the 2 years. Other than that, the same people working on it now are the same people that started on it 2 years ago, and that's an incredible feat.
Totally, that's amazing. And obviously in this economy, it's tough to retain talent. So I'm super glad it worked out on both sides of the table. So for our final question, I know Sourceability is rapidly growing. I mean, over 1 billion parts, that's insane. How has NetSuite and Myers-Holum been able to enable this growth into the foreseeable future?
It gives us the agility to respond to market challenges. One of the things that happened during this whole process is the entire electronics market shifted. During COVID, during our implementation cycle, you all heard about all the shortages. And that was an incredible thing for us. Well, now there's a different market. Now it's what they call an excess market. Parts are in this process, but we're having to now find buyers for products instead of products for buyers. Well, NetSuite's allowed us to make that business change pretty easily, simply because the data is there. Now it's just a matter of how do we look at it, because it's all there. And that's one of the main things that it's really helping us do right now.
Yeah, that's amazing. And who knows what the future will entail. We have some different analytics platforms too that can maybe help you out in the future. So we'll see what's to come there.
We're sticking our toe into the analytics stuff. We're still trying to get there. That's part of our phase 2 implementation.
Love to hear that. AJ, anything else to add on to that?
Yeah, I mean, we also had that in mind when going through this implementation. So in terms of our designs, at Mark and Sourceability, we're very mindful of the the scalability, and being able to, for lack of a better term, future-proof all of our solutions. So that extended time did allow us to create a solution that they can use for a very long time, and hopefully not hear from us for any bugs or anything like that. But yeah, so it's really just having that alignment in terms of what their future 2 to 3 year plan was, and us accommodating for that with our design instead of just kind of doing a point A to B type of solution.
Got it. Thank you. And then we had one question in the chat. How long did your implementation last, and were there any delays?
The implementation lasted 23 months. And as I said earlier, we went into it with a much more abbreviated process. And so that lengthened the process. Yeah, we went into it initially with a much different philosophy and said it was going to take 9 months. But as I said, during that process, it became apparent that methodology needed to be changed. And that's what caused our delay. And then we just managed it quarterly, kind of running it in an agile process, so that we weren't saying it's going to take us 3-5 years, whatever. It was always every quarter we would simply evaluate how close we were and continue down that process. That way we were pushing for a go live as quick as possible.
Got it. Yeah, and I'm sure if hindsight's 2020, if you could have done a few things differently, maybe you would have, but look, you're live and running.
Exactly.
So that's super positive.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, the next question in the chat is, what's your favorite part of NetSuite?
Personally, my favorite part of NetSuite is some of the stuff that we're not using yet. And that is going to be the task handoff between departments, being able to have all of that live in the system. I think that will take us to the next level. I love those features. We just did not have a chance to make them part of our go live. So I'm super excited about that being part of our expansion plan.
But do you think that's in your next phase?
Probably won't be in the immediate next phase, but it will be part of the game plan over the next year.
Got it. Awesome. And what else? Okay, somebody else asked, what was the most significant value that you're receiving from NetSuite? I think we talked about this a little bit, but if you had to pinpoint one thing.
Visibility. Absolutely. It's visibility throughout the entire business cycle.
Awesome.
Yeah, and just to add to that, for the visibility, it did take 24 months to get you that visibility, and it was a lot of effort. And I was just doing a count, about 300 plus scripts to accommodate for that visibility and traceability. But yeah, it was definitely it's definitely one of those features that I think are going to be one of one, I would say.
Totally. That is key. And you got there, so that's amazing. I actually think we're out of time. So I just wanted to thank Myers-Holum and Sourceability for speaking with us today. And thank you to everyone who joined. We'll be sure to send out the on-demand version of this webinar after the fact in case you missed anything. But I hope everyone has a great rest of your day and hope you enjoyed.
Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mom.
Felicia.
Thanks, AJ.